So, Happy New Year to everyone, unless you're in China, which it is currently the year, well, I'm not really sure, but it definitely ain't 2024 there either. Anyway,
Isn't there a
over
year of
to
the
you.
snakes in China? I mean, we don't like snakes, do we?
Yeah,
No
that
one
is a
likes them
really,
kind of people. You can't have them in your life. Cut them out. Make
yeah,
that your
you,
New Year's resolution, and cut them
yeah,
out.
which is really quite, for the Chinese, is really quite a horrible thing to have to do because they're all snakes this year, quite literally.
Well, it's not my fault that the podcast is not called the Wong Deng Wu Yang podcast, is it?
Kind of
What
is.
What do you
But
want me to
anyway,
do? No, you named it. Well, actually, we both named it, but you run the podcast feed, so I don't know what you want me to do about that.
yeah, well, that's not, first of all, that's the snake's problem, really.
Although, talking of running a podcast feed, I think we should get the good news out that we have committed to our New Year's resolution, and we are going to be available in more places.
Yeah, we might even do some live ones with
We
some.
might just do that now.
And the legend has it that we want user contributions for some weird reason.
Yeah, apparently you lot might have some valuable input. I'm not too sure if that's true, but well, I guess we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to play out, but
Well,
we'll have to see.
hopefully
Hopefully,
people
by the
will
end of the
play
year,
the
we've got
episode. That'll be a
a
start.
built audience. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we'll be
precisely.
easily available on the older tubes.
Exactly. I also plan to change sources soon of how we record the podcast, so everyone
Yeah.
should get a more seamless
We
experience.
are working on many things for the podcast. Many,
Indeed,
many
we are.
things, including talking
Unlike,
about Floppy.
well, I was about to say, unlike the cost cutting at Man United, we're doing a lot better.
Yeah, we're trying to up our
Production.
technological reach and production, and maybe even a bit of the spending. You never know.
Exactly, but the United team always positively amused me in their failure to do so.
Their failure to win as well when they're excited about a draw, honestly. But
Yeah,
this isn't the
exactly.
results podcast, but I have to take aim
It
that
is
they were
not.
happy about a draw. That
Well, I
shows
was
how
about to
far they've
say
fallen.
the new title of this episode was going to be how far you've fallen," because I think
Yeah.
that is the summary of this sort of January to December January fixture list. I think teams seem to be a lot happier about how far they've actually fallen than how big they should be
It would
rising
seem
up.
that way. It would seem that way. And although we did take our Christmas break from podcasting, we did not take our Christmas break from football. That would be
No,
a
we did
crime.
not. It would not be right. It is our religion. We
It
never
is.
take a break from our
We
religion.
must go to the church every day that it is open, which luckily, due to more games, don't tell Roger I said this, is becoming a great thing. Almost a godsend. Pun not
Yeah, you don't want
intended,
to upset
obviously.
Rodri or
No.
Allison.
Well, Roger, it's funny, he comes up with all that statement, and I mean, it is coincidental, but he gets injured and is out for the rest of the season. He
Well, what
cannot be
amused
complaining
me,
that he's got too many games now, surely.
no, certainly not. And what amused me was Allison because he literally his job was to do nothing for 90 minutes and just be there. And he said, "Oh, but we have more games. It is not good."
So he's the Continentals, isn't
Yeah, it always is.
it?
Yeah,
But we will
us
be
Brits never
on the
complain.
tubes, and you can well actually I say that you can even leave us a comment on the tubes with your
You
opinions.
can. You can also, for some reason, leave a comment on Spotify. I never check them, so don't bother, please.
No, no. We might check the tubes once in a while.
Yeah, we check the YouTube ones.
I'm
Yeah,
not a fan of small spaces, so I won't be putting my head in the tube any more than I need to.
no, which means that Twitter's off limits.
Yeah, well, that's just small-minded, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Twitter
next time,
Spaces off limits.
at least we'll have an email to present you next time, and you can, you know, call us horrible fat bastards if you want, or tell us you like the podcast. Either's fine.
Spoiler alert: we are horrible fat bastards.
Well, exactly. That's what I was about to say. Honesty's the best policy.
It is, and we respect that around here. A bit like Ruben Amorim when he pointed out how well United did.
They did do well, didn't they?
They did. Anyway, the first subject, I suppose, should be United. Now that we've touched on it enough, what's your verdict after what is it? 2 months now of Amorim,
Yeah.
just over a month.
Yeah. It's literally just coming up to 2 months. It was November
Yeah, I
because of
thought
the
so.
international break. But my
That's right. Yeah.
verdicts on Amram, I don't know because I feel like he knows that he's inherited something that's going to take a lot of work. But at the same time, I feel like United kind of said to him, "This is the squad you got, and this is what you got." It's almost like he's trying to play it as in saying the comments that he's coming out with about being near relegation and struggling. It's almost like he's trying to say, "Yeah, well, I don't want this squad," or
Well, I
"I've,
think
I've."
that is exactly what he's saying, and
It's, it's
I don't think we have a position to judge them until they start buying more players. because that was the problem with Ten Hag. Everyone said they're not his players, whatever, and then suddenly they were his players. After a while, he has to, like Harry Maguire is now Ruben Amorim's
Oh yeah,
for
and they've
whatever
extended his
reason.
contract.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he was very happy to say that, and I was, I wondered if he was held at gunpoint, but I've been told by people more visually adept than me that he was not, in fact, held to gunpoint.
Oh well,
Those were his exact words.
that makes you question if he's feeling all right, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that win must have got to his head.
What
The
win are we
draw,
talking
rather.
about? I was about to say, when did they
Yeah.
last win a game?
Well, it feels like they won. That's the whole problem, isn't it?
No, it feels to them like they won. I mean,
Yeah, but the way that it's been portrayed, you would think
of
you would be
course,
forgiven for thinking they won
of
when
course. And
you
now the
looked at the
media's all
headlines the
over
next day.
Amorim. They're all
Oh
over
yeah,
Amorim now. They love him. Best thing ever.
yeah.
Best manager you could ask for.
But the
Best.
day before, he was getting sacked.
Yeah, Manchester United win a relegation battle.
Yeah, which in a bizarre twist of fate, they kind of are.
Well, it's not impossible. I mean, Ipswich have picked up points in their last two games. Wolves have picked up a
Yeah.
lot of points. All right, they lost last night, but they've picked up a lot of
The only
points.
certainty is Southampton. They're gone.
Southampton, I think, could actually like. I'm going to dedicate 5 minutes or so to Southampton later on because there's a lot of talk about them at the moment. But the preview of what I'm going to say, I think they could break Derby's record.
Oh, easily.
I genuinely think we might see a
And
Southampton
we
side.
thought Sheffield United was bad.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do it in 2020/21. Do you remember after they came up, finished ninth, and then they were absolutely useless,
Oh yeah,
and they were on 0 points or something in February.
that's
I
right.
thought they
Yeah,
were going to break that record, and then they managed. Sneaky bastards went on a bit of a winning streak, actually, didn't they, at the end?
yeah.
Um,
Upset a few good teams.
but Southampton, I could see going down with like a one-digit point number.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't see who else. What worried me was when we beat them 1-0 because it was such a hard fought victory. And that's when I thought to myself, I've always said that we're a sort of top 5, 6 team. That was not a top 5, 6 team player that day. And that's when I really thought, you can't sack a manager after a win. That tends to be the rules. But I think you can.
Well, if you carry on like this, I'm going to be a rich man at the end of the season, aren't I?
Well, apparently so. That's
It's
what I'm
looking
saying.
very likely at the
I'm
moment.
pleading that I can't remember ever having this discussion. So,
Although there was a bet made in Weatherspoons on your
well, I
birthday.
can't. Yeah, I can't recall. I make no comment. I prefer not to speak.
Yeah, well, you better speak.
I prefer not to speak. But on a serious, bringing it back to a serious note, half-heartedly, when you talk about
Of
United, it's
course, we don't
honestly
do
serious.
serious when it comes to United. You can't.
No, Uh, they're causing mess after mess in the boardroom. They're not helping themselves because they keep cost cutting where they don't actually need to cost cut. Like
Oh,
civilian
Jim.
members of staff.
Jim, just cast your mind back to that episode. Jim won't fix it.
Oh
I
yeah, we
think
saw
that's
this
been
coming.
proven completely correct now. Jim
I
has
agree,
broken it.
and it's not being Nostradamus either.
No.
It was seen from the beginning when that train left the station. You could see exactly what was going to happen. And Jim, people like Jim, and he's a good businessman. I've no doubt about that. He's the Britain's richest man. Of course, he's a good businessman. That never translates to foot. If you're a good businessman, it makes you a terrible football owner because you
Always.
make decisions in the. And Liverpool had this problem. The difference that Liverpool had at the time was that they had enough stock to do these sorts of things, and they actually needed to. The places where they were cost cutting were actually players. They just happened to buy really good players at really cheap prices. United aren't doing that. They're cost cutting, 200 grand here, 200 grand there. Rashford's, if we believe it, is on about 200 grand a week conservative,
Yeah.
right? So this cost cut, all it's doing is, not even touching the ice.
No, it's miles off. And I don't know. I
And it's
just think,
upsetting people as well.
but I think as well as the cost cutting, what United have always got wrong, and it wasn't all Jim, but I think he's added to it, is that this buying players, they will overpay for players who are then not even worth half their value. So you'll never make a
Yeah.
profit on anyone that you buy when you're United.
No. Even Rashford is probably going to go for way less than he's worth, or
The
was
only
worth.
the only advantage they've got with Rashford is that he's an academy product, and that will go down as pure
Exactly.
profit.
Exactly. So even if they make 2 million, it still goes down as pure profit.
Yeah,
That's my point. It shouldn't have come to that.
Rashford's. I don't know. I feel like it's been a long-term thing that he's had this coming for a long time because his attitude's
I've
not been
always said
right.
that. I've always said that. And to be fair, you have on occasion as well. You're a little more pro Rashford than me, but
He's been an
not by
unpredictable
much.
player. I think like that season when he
It
scored
has.
30 goals, and you kind of
Yeah,
think
no,
if
and
he
you can't
takes that
deny that was a
now,
good season.
if he grabs that and runs with it, yes, he'll have another. Like he could come back. He didn't.
Yeah, yeah, it was sort of foreseen really with Rashford that this would be the way it ended. I think he didn't help himself, and I can't remember if this was now pre-podcast or not when he said he wanted to leave.
It's,
Um, was it just after we did it? I can't remember if we
oh,
covered it on the last episode.
I'm not 100% sure. This
But
is the
if we
problem with
did,
having a Christmas break, isn't it?
yeah, we'll summarise it then. If we didn't, the thing is, he wants to leave, and he's not handled it in the right way whatsoever. He couldn't have gotten any worse. Contacting and doing it while delivering Christmas presents. I think we
Yeah,
did cover it now. I think I'm
yeah,
starting
I
to
think we might
remember.
have done actually. But
Delivering Christmas presents and doing that was just, it was so cringy, first of all. Second of all, it was so uncalled for.
just completely unnecessary. Like you don't need to do it. If I'm completely honest, like if you got an
No.
issue, go up to the club. They weren't all that asked about keeping him anyway. So go there. Look, I've got a bit of a, I don't want to stay. Could we
Yeah.
maybe have a look or agree something? United were up for selling him anyway. Everyone
Yeah,
kind
they
of
wanted
knew
to
that.
sell him well before this.
Yeah, everyone knew that his time was coming to an end. So if
They
he'd gone
couldn't
about it the
offload
right
him.
way,
Yeah, that was the truth. They couldn't offload him.
and
The
that's
way
where I think
it's
the issue is. They haven't offloaded him. So he's gone, do you
it's
know
the
what? I'm going to
opposite.
take
It's the
this.
opposite to Trent, where people would cut their right arm off for him for some weird reason,
Not
and
defensively, you
yet,
wouldn't. You try and hold on. Well, I say you try and hold on to your arm, but he's not exactly going to come and get it, is he?
well, that's the problem. I really, I don't see the hype on it. He's a good player, but I don't
Maybe
see
cut the
the.
left arm off though, so that we could still do some defending down the right side. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the true. That's the very fair
it
point.
is. Yeah,
Well, I think we've covered Rashford. Really, there's not really much we can say. We
there's
covered.
not really much more you can say about United apart from the fact that
No, I
like
think we
cost
covered
cutting
United.
and to be happy about a draw, it shows how far they've fallen. And I love it. Being a Liverpool
What's
fan, I love
next?
seeing where they are. I love it, but it's still one of the biggest clubs. To fall that
Yeah.
far, something has gone
It's
wrong.
like Everton, isn't it? No one actually
Yeah,
wants them to go down because they founded the Premier
yeah.
League.
But something has gone seriously wrong. When you go back to Fergie, could we
Yeah.
ever be happy with a draw?
Oh no, that would
No.
be a day when you go home and you'd be in the huff.
You were getting it at full time. You were going in that dressing room and you were getting it. And
Yeah.
now it's
I
almost like he's gone and said,
think we
"Come on,
remember.
boys."
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And
next, oh
what's
no, go on.
next? Yeah. I was just
What's
going to say,
next?
well, yeah. What's
Should we move on
next?
to Deitch before we move on to Floppy? Because I
Well,
think,
I want to touch on just what's next for United first. That's what I was meaning.
United. Because you
But
said we were
just
done with
yeah,
United.
small yeah, I know, and I thought, well, what's next? Well, what do you
Um,
reckon is going to happen? Because everyone's saying Amorim's now the second coming of Christ. What's he got a draw?
what
It's
I
not as simple as
think,
that. The players are not good.
no.
Is my take on this.
Some maybe individually are, but they don't play as a team, and as a team, they are not good. My
Yeah,
my prediction will be that they will plod their way along the Premier League and maybe pick up a, I don't know, 11th place. I don't think anything remarkable is going to happen. I don't think they'll
no,
go on a massive losing streak because I think there'll be wins in between. I mean, for God's sake,
yeah.
they
There's
play
enough teams
Southampton
for them.
soon. There's got to be a win in that, hasn't there?
Well, you say that with United, anything can happen.
Of course,
It's been known that they'd lose.
of course. But on paper, if you look at the results and you think,
On
where are
paper,
they?
yeah.
Where are they going to get wins? Well, Southampton's
I was really
should
surprised
be
on
a
the odds on
certainty.
Newcastle. I was
Mm.
almost going to put a bet on it. I don't know why I didn't actually. But the odds on Newcastle losing was so good that it was almost silly of us not to bet on it, actually, because we knew what was coming along that track.
Yeah,
But anyway, yeah, Everton. I want to talk about Everton as well
yeah.
because you know my
Interesting.
view on this. We very slightly disagree, I think, on this one.
I don't think. I don't know. I don't know if we disagree because the only reason I'm going to say that is it's always easy to explain something in person.
Very
Um,
true.
and like
Uh,
I said earlier, scrap what the
hate the
fans
floor.
say. Scrap the fans completely for a minute because we don't come here as fans. We come here to analyse things. It's now
Yeah,
our,
we've
shall
not
we
yet
say,
said the key word, so it's okay.
well, it's now our job, isn't it? We analyse things, and this is what we do. We sit
Exactly.
here and chat shit about clubs. But when you take the fans out of it, Everton's results are not great. They've scored in what is it, 2 out of the last 10 matches. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's a reflection on Deitch
I
or
know.
anything
So
because
yeah,
he
I
hasn't
agree.
got the team. He hasn't got the team. We all know that. But you look at those results when you've come in, they're a point above relegation. You've come in as a new owner and you're thinking, this is not where we want to be. This is not our manager. And again, I actually don't agree that they should sack him. I don't know if the message came across wrong earlier. I don't agree they should sack him. But the way they all see it now is that this isn't our manager and we're a point above relegation. We don't want to be here. We want to
Yeah.
start getting our own people in, making our own changes so that we can fight with what we want. Now, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
again, I would hold on to him. I genuinely would. Apparently, the original plan was to hold on till the end of the season. I would stick with that plan if I was Everton.
Well, his contract runs out then, doesn't it?
Yeah. So then
Yeah,
maybe you see how you end up, see what your summer budget is. If he does well, if he pulls you away, then you say, all right, we'll extend it by a year. We'll give you
yeah.
some budget because now we have the finances. We'll give you the budget and
I've
we'll
always
see
been
how you go
curious what
next year.
Dyche would be like with a budget. I don't know about you.
I think he would be an interesting manager with a budget. I don't
Because
know what he would do.
Burnley practically starved him
Yeah,
when he was at Burnley, and he did all right.
he got him into Europe 1 year.
Yeah,
He
with
saved
nothing
Everton
really.
last year. He saved Everton's arse last year. Let's be honest about that. But
Agreed.
without
Yeah,
that
Frank
points
Lampard
deduction,
was
they'd have had
really sort
48
of
points. They would have had 48 points last. It's not great,
yeah.
but it's not bad.
No,
Um,
no, it's not.
but then you look at it this season, and I can't help looking at it because they haven't really lost anyone. They didn't really lose anyone over the summer, and they
No, but I
seem a
think
lot
the players
worse.
are getting a year older.
Of course
I mean,
they are.
Ashley Young ain't getting any younger, is he?
No, of course not. Neither is Seamus Coleman. But you look at
Yeah.
Calvert-Lewin, who I think is done. I don't know why clubs like Newcastle and your
I
Inter
don't know.
Milans and that are being linked
Yeah,
with
I
him. I
thought he was
think
okay, but he
he
was only
was
okay because Everton was so bad.
he was all right a few years ago. He was banging in a lot of goals, but he doesn't now. He hasn't done that consistently for a long time. He's an
I
injury
agree.
problem. What I would
What I will
say,
say,
go on,
sorry, go on.
me or
I
you?
was me.
Go
Okay,
on.
just me. We'll make it easier. I was just going to say, but what happened to Pickford? He had a good streak. I mean, he basically became a fortress at one
He,
point.
he still was the other day though. Yeah, he has been lately with the Arsenal games and Chelsea games. I mean, Everton lost the other day, but if he hadn't been making them saves, they would have lost by a lot more.
Pickford is the guy now that would have been picked for England a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Like he's I don't know what was going into him, but again, you got to credit Dyche for that because no one else has been there.
nothing wrong with Dyche. That generally isn't, but it comes down to that whole thing, doesn't it? It's almost like a panic move. Oh, we're a point above
Yeah,
relegation, and this isn't our manager. Right? Okay,
yeah,
we need to get him out.
and as you know, the worst thing you can do when you're underwater is panic. And I just
Of
think
course.
Roma, obviously, Roma's the only blueprint we have for Dan Freakin,
Dilly
isn't it?
ding, dilly
Really?
dong.
Oh, he was all right actually.
He's there now. That's
He
why I
won.
said
He
he's
won. I
back.
know. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, he's one. He's all right actually.
Yeah, he's won the
I think I think he won a
dilly ding,
league,
dilly
didn't
dong
he?
trophy, didn't he?
Did
Yeah,
he not win a league?
he won the Premier League with Leicester.
Yeah, I
And then he
thought
didn't
so.
just say dilly ding, dilly dong. He said dilly fucking ding, dilly dong.
Yeah, and he won that in that beautiful canteen of his.
No, that was Watford. Only
Yeah,
Watford had a
but
very nice canteen.
oh, that's true. He never really said anything about Leicester, so we
No,
never know. We have to
Watford
assume he liked
canteen,
it though.
really nice. Honestly, one of the
Oh
best
god.
moments from a press conference.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever find. If I ever find that again, I'll have to put it on the podcast at some stage.
I'm gonna touch on a one later actually.
Yeah,
And the good thing is actually the new way that we're editing our podcast. We won't be revealing too much, but we can add little audio clips in parts. So, you
very
know,
true.
um,
Which
Jose
I will be
Mourinho's
doing.
press conference. Did you
Oh
see it?
no, I haven't. No, but
So,
I know it'll be a good one.
right, we will come back to Everton in a minute. So it's all related actually because the Freakins appointed him at Roma. He's at Fenerbahce now, isn't he? And
Oh, right enough. Yeah,
he was having a go at the
Turkish league.
football and the referees, and
Yeah,
he said
as
that
usual.
I tell you, it is scandal. I learned a new word, scandal, and he said it
What?
about
Sorry.
6, 7 times.
Yeah, do you know what the biggest scandal is about that?
Go
It's
on.
taken him 23 years to learn it.
It was just the way. So I was watching Sky Sports News last night because I don't know, I was floating about as you do.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were talking about transfer news. And out of nowhere, Mourinho's come on there and they said that yes, so Jose Mourinho's had another one of his traditional press conferences. I learned a new word, scandal.
Yeah, my biggest question to Mourinho is why did you not learn that word 23 years ago? But,
Because he prefers not to speak.
yeah, that's the problem. No, but
It's a big issue,
problem
yeah.
is he never doesn't speak.
Now, for someone who prefers not to speak, he does a
Yeah,
bloody good job of speaking, doesn't he?
he really does. Yeah,
He
I gotta
really
give it,
does.
gotta give it to him there.
He does. He does
Credit
a
where credit's due,
brilliant,
and all.
brilliant job of speaking.
He
Um,
does.
but Everton, I mean, we can't stay on them forever, but I,
No,
I wouldn't do it, but I've got a feeling they're going to do it.
I think they will. I think they're mad. I really do. I think as Dan Freak can learn nothing from Roma.
No.
And you could argue that in some ways he did what he had to do at Roma because all the managers failed. But then, if all your managers fail, there's something wrong with something else. And United have learnt that as well. You know, sacking Dyche is not going to solve that. If anything, it'll make them worse. They might have a little bounce, and I don't know because the players play for him. That's the thing. So will they get a bounce? You only get a bounce from the players who stop playing for you. Like when Lopetegui goes, he'll get a bounce probably.
Well,
You know,
it's
the players
difficult
want him
again.
gone.
Like I said to you earlier on the messages, with Dice, his job becomes 10 times harder because now he's trying to prove himself again. So he got the job when
Yeah,
Mashiri was there. But now he's got to prove himself again, and he's not won anything, not won a game. I'm
yeah,
not again. I'm not backing him to go.
I
But he's
know.
not won a
Yeah,
game. That to them
I
is like,
agree.
well, you can't win a game. We're a point above
Yeah,
relegation, and we didn't want you in the first place. And I
yeah. No,
suppose
there is that argument. They didn't want him.
no, and they'll be planning. So their idea now will be, we're going to get rid of him at the end of the season anyway. So you might as well bring it
Yeah,
forward 4 months.
yeah. Well, let's talk about before we move on from Everton. Let's have one last, and I can't believe I'm saying this, one last final chat about Farhad Mashiri because he's
Oh,
gone.
Farhad. He's gone Farhad away now.
He is Farhad away. Yeah.
Very Farhad away now. Yep. He had enough.
Look, I will give a very new because I've done a lot of reading to Farhad Mashiri over the years. He's always been a fascinating character to me,
Mm,
and I think in 10 years history will actually be kinder to him because I think he will be viewed right now. He's viewed as a sort of villain forever, and I completely understand it. I mean,
yeah.
anyone would,
Yeah.
but he has also done a few good things. You know, a lot of stupid decisions, a lot of stupid manager appointments, and I think Benitez was the final straw of the Everton fans. To be honest with you, that
Rashford's
was
at the wheel. At the wheel. Rashford's at the
that they
wheel.
will. They will. I just found that so stupid at the time, and even
Yeah.
now, there's no rationale in it.
There never
But
was, to be honest.
no, no, there wasn't. But he also has now delivered them a stadium they all actually wanted because Everton are one of the few clubs that actually wanted a new stadium.
But he
And I
did what
think,
everyone else has done, didn't he, when you look at it in a way? You know, big name manager. Not that
yeah,
he was by this point, but the name,
I know, yeah, I agree.
free, no
You can see
compensation,
why he did
appoint
it.
him. It's like Floppy,
You
isn't it,
can,
really?
yeah, you can see why he did it in some weird way. I don't,
Yeah.
especially with him. I think he was very naive. I don't think he was stupid. Actually, I think he was just very naive,
Oh, of
and
course.
he spent a lot of money on players that he then FFP came along and I think FFP was the nail in the coffin. I
Yep.
think they could have got out of it if they didn't have it
They couldn't
because they
sell the
could have
players
brought.
though because they didn't have the value that it was kind
That's
of
my point
a
though. Yeah,
miniature United in terms of they brought the players. The
yeah,
players didn't hold value, so then
yeah.
FFP
Literally,
comes
and
along
I
and they
think
can't
more.
make that money.
Yeah, more of Everton's players ended up being Unitedified, as I now call it, than
Oh yeah,
anything else.
yeah.
And I think if FFP wasn't a thing, they could have bored their way out of it, got money from 777 or whoever it would have been, bought
Well,
new
that would have been a
players.
disaster with a 777 thing, I
It
think,
would have been.
because they
It
were
would
a
have been.
known disaster as it was.
It would have been, but they probably.
It would
My
have
point was that
it would
they
have
would
held
have
them
picked
over.
someone else.
Well, yeah,
They probably would have picked someone else. My point is, they wouldn't have been so close to financial disaster because
no,
FFP would have allowed them to actually. They wouldn't have got drop points, so they would have actually finished in a decent place. They then would have had money to spend on new players, even though they couldn't sell the old ones. Farhad would have just had to cut his losses there. Release them all probably if he really wanted to. Get new players in, get Dyche's players in actually, because Dyche has hardly signed anyone, which isn't his fault. Again, it's the FFP stuff. He's not signed many people, so you can't say they're all Dyche's people. Most
do
of
you
them are not.
think? Do you think in their situation though they go in a kind of different way? So you haven't got a whole load of money to spend. So
Yeah,
my idea would be to get the maximum potential out of what you have got. You buy in young talents, not even maybe
yeah.
from this league. You
No,
look
I
around a
agree.
bit. You do a little bit of
Yeah,
shopping.
you do what we did.
Yeah, or you even in the championship, like you say, I don't know, there's 18-year-old, but he's playing really well. Even if
Yeah,
he's not an immediate starter, we bring him in for 5, 10 million. If he does
I
well,
agree.
he's going to be worth 40 in the future.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Then you sell him for the 40, you can do the same again.
But when did Everton
Because
last sign a player for money that you thought, like, oh wow, they've actually spent a bit of money? I can't remember the last time they actually
I
brought a
ge-
player,
hand
really.
on heart, I genuinely cannot remember. You might have one in the sort of archives of your brain,
I've got that
but
Yusuf Chermity or whatever his name is, but wasn't a massive. So he came from Portugal. That was them trying to buy young.
I don't know a single player that, because you know more, but you do more sort of player analysis than me. So to be fair, that's more your question than mine. But even so, I cannot remember a player they signed that I thought that's going to change their fortune.
No,
You know, they just don't do it, and that's fine because they don't have the facilities to do it really.
can't do it.
But you know, do what we did in some ways, and you know, because sometimes it works for us, and sometimes, as you've seen, it doesn't. But we brought like Kudus, for example, and you know, a player that sort of comes in. He was quite expensive, mind, but
Yeah, they haven't
he,
got the money for that kind of player.
no, but he came in and did a much better job than people thought, and even people thought he'd do a good job.
Yeah,
You need players like that where people they look good, but they'll do even better in the Premier League.
there was nothing wrong with him as a player, right? As Kudus as a player was great. People knew he'd come in and do well, and he did better. And for the
Yeah,
it kind of makes the price that you look back and you think we only paid that for him. That's a great
yeah.
price. Like it's like Salah. I'm not saying they're exactly the
No, I
same
agree.
player, but we paid 35, 36 million for Salah,
Yeah, that's a bargain, really.
and people then everywhere. A couple of my mates at the time when we signed him, what do you want to sign him for? He's a Chelsea flop. He's not going to do
Yeah.
well at Liverpool. My answer at
Huh.
the time, because I didn't know, because no one did, but the answer you give is, well, he's done well where he's just come from. You give him time.
Yeah,
You give him time and you
yeah,
see what he does.
yeah.
It was a no risk signing,
I reckon
really, because
Chelsea will be the
he'd
breeding
sell,
ground for most flops.
but he would sell for more. So, or not maybe more, but he would sell for the same. If he didn't succeed massively, but he did all right,
Yeah, he would have sold
he
for the
would have sold
same.
for the
Yeah,
same.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, and Kudus was the same bargain, really, that he
Yeah.
would have sold for the same. And now, even if we sold him now, we'd make a massive profit on him easily.
I think you've got, I mean, there are clubs will always ask for what they ask for, won't they? But I think you've
Yeah,
easily there got realistically with that. If you take West Ham's valuation off,
yeah,
you've got a £70 million player there.
yeah. I agree. And so let's move on to West Ham now, anyway, because we've closed the Everton
I'm
chapter.
feeling kind of floppy. Oh, floppy, do
Well,
you
I
know
think he
what
is
I
as well.
mean?
Yeah, I think he is as well this morning,
I think he
Lopetegui.
probably is, to be honest. Yeah.
Look, I
I'm
mean,
not going to
he's
say this
also
because
gone
you're the
for a
West
rough
Ham
time. You've
fan.
got to remember that.
You're the West Ham fan. I'm going to give
Yeah,
you a bit of time now. I just want to know everything because we
yeah.
haven't actually spoke for ages. How naughty of us! But I
It
want
actually
your
makes a very good podcast.
in person thoughts about West Ham for this podcast
I
episode.
think I think there's a lot of nuance, and we know our favourite presenter, Mr. Jordan, likes to talk about nuance, doesn't he?
What a Herbert.
Yeah, I can't remember what the other thing is, but it was something
Dollars
else
for
with
dirt.
nuance. Yeah, well, there is that. But nuance, right, is the real thing. And I think Lopetegui's had a few things lately. You know, I think his dad died, didn't he?
Yep.
There's a couple of things there that makes me think, well, I wonder if it can be an arranged sort of leaving type thing where he doesn't actually want to be there anymore. He's got enough to deal with now that he goes, look, this ain't working. You know, you go and find a replacement. I'll keep the fort down, and then I'm off, and I'm going to go and recover's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. It's because the other alternative is they're just going blatantly behind his back, and I don't think that's something Sullivan doesn't really do. And I got to say, in fairness to him, that's not something he does. That's not his MO, which tells you there's been some sort of agreement struck whereby Lopetegui's quite happy with this sort of arrangement, because all you're hearing now is not rumours of Potter having talks. It is Potter is having talks, as in he's there now with
Yeah.
Tim,
Yeah. He's in there
photographed. They're
now.
not hiding it, and that tells me that ultimately I think it is over, and I think it's good for him as much as anyone else. It's not worked out.
No.
He's not going to win any. He's not going to win any silverware. He talked a good game when he went in about being top four, which you
And being
know,
fuckest.
yeah, which was ludicrous, but it was something the West Ham fans would have wanted to hear, and we all know
Yeah.
it.
Of course.
Because that's the sort of manager, and Graham Potter's the same. He will have that ambition, and look, I think with enough nurturing, you've got a top five squad there. Probably not a top four in the sort of next couple of years, but you've got a top five squad if you can do it properly. And I don't think they are doing it properly. I think the squad are as much to blame, by the way. But you need a manager that knows what he's doing, and I don't get the impression Lopetegui knows entirely what he's doing.
The squad's partly to blame, but I think at the same time you need a manager who suits the squad. So with West Ham, the idea has been go out and buy attacking players. But you've not
yeah,
brought. It's the same thing that we come to every time we talk about Floppy, because every month it's like, he's nearly gone, and then he's not gone, and then he's staying. Every time he
yeah,
looks like he's gone, and we cover him on the podcast, if you're going to buy an attacking squad, you need an
yeah,
attacking manager. Graham Potter,
yeah. I've never
exactly the kind of
understood why
manager
we
you
do it.
need. So
I've
yes,
never understood why we do it.
it is the squad's fault, but at the
Yeah,
same time, he cannot put together the defense. He can't even pick his best defense.
I agree.
It's like he's been put in a desert, right?
Yeah,
You've got 4 bottles of water, let's say. So
yeah.
you've got all the resources you need for now, but they you can only use them in a certain way.
One of
So
them's piss water,
yeah,
and
but
you got to drink one of
you
them.
try to maximize them. Whereas with him, it's kind of like, well, if I have a bit of this one, I can then have a bit of this one, so I'll then have the same amount.
He
So
doesn't have anything good.
he's almost like, if we try and defend like this, but next week because it didn't work, we'll defend like this. It
Bear in
don't
mind as well, we
work.
also now don't have a defence, probably thanks to him and his training. Probably, I wouldn't know. I would imagine there's been too many injuries for
But
it not to be.
he's been asked to play the wrong kind of football though as well. So he's been brought in
Yeah,
at,
and
oh,
he's
we want you
trying
to
as well.
change your football. Well, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and he's trying as well. To be fair to him,
Of
you
course.
can see that he's trying to mould with what the club wants. But that's never how a manager works. You pick the manager, right? The manager doesn't pick you. So you pick the manager you want, and that's why all these managers at the bottom three didn't change their positions, because they know when they'll get sacked, people like Everton will go for someone like Gary O'Neill and say, "Well, this is how you play, so this is what we want." Whereas when you change your style, then you don't really know what you're getting, do you? And I think Lopetegui's changed his style. I think if he gets sacked, and I think it will be mutual consent, oddly enough, again, I think I don't know what he does, but I think he goes to a club that matches his style, and I
I don't
think
know if
he'd
he's
do
been
all
given a
right.
choice for the mutual consent. I don't honestly know, because I think like
Put it this way, he'll be happy enough to leave. I think he won't put up a fight for his job. I don't think
well, it's a case
it's
of, I
done.
think you're being replaced, but carry on while we're sorting something out. A, because West Ham don't want to be left without a manager, but B, Lopetegui knows that if he gets sacked, right, he's this close now. If he walks, he doesn't get the payout. If he
Yeah.
holds on for a few days, carries on with his job, knowing that he's going to go, he's
Oh no, I
still
think
got an
there'll be a
18 month
payout, but I think
payout
they'll
coming.
both agree that it's not working. Is what I'm saying. There
I
will
don't
be
know
a.
how much say he's got in that.
I don't think it's so much say. I think my point is I don't think he'll be begging for his job. I don't think
He won't be begging for it, no.
tomorrow is his big day. Really, I don't think there will be a sacking in the next 12 hours. You can hold me to that if you want. It's on a
I think
podcast,
it's going
but
to be in the morning.
if it's not in the morning, then he's got one last game to save his arse.
Yeah. If it's not in
And
the
I don't
morning, I
think
think he will be there for the Villa game.
if he can beat Villa convincingly, then I think you have a different conversation.
And then we end up where we've been for the past 4 months
This
again,
is the
though.
problem. But this is the problem. This is where I say you can sack a manager who wins, because it's how you win. If you can go out and beat Villa and thrash them and make them look like complete amateurs, then you have to ask the question: why we're not letting him build something? Because he's shown what his potential is.
Yeah.
He's not yet shown a potential to batter a team.
But then you could go
I'm
and
not.
play like that again next week, and then you're back where you
Yeah,
started.
yeah, I agree. But then that's on the squad really. If Lopetegui put out a good 11 that outmaneuvers Villa, then you have to say that he did that. When the squad then start acting up, individual mistakes are not his fault. It's a bit like Ange, isn't it? Which we'll come on to. Individual mistakes can cost you a game, and they are not the manager's fault. It's the consistent individual mistakes that are the problem,
Yeah.
and that is on the manager, because he's clearly not teaching the players what to do.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but it's like me standing over you now, right?
Yeah,
And I say, if you don't give me £500, I'm going to pull the trigger on and shoot you. But you haven't got
yeah,
the £500, but you managed to get it. So I say, all right,
yeah,
I'll let you live for a little while. Next week, right, I've spent that £500. I want it
yeah,
again, but you can't give me it. So I say, all right, I'll give you a week. You go
yeah,
away. I leave you alone, but you're on the edge.
yeah.
Again, you can't give me it, and then you do give me it. So I say, all right, go. It's constantly like he's got the gun held
Yeah,
over him, but
and
no one
both
will pull
things
the
need,
trigger.
and you've illustrated, possibly by accident, I don't know, the fact that both sides need it. You need the
Yeah.
£500 in this example, so you can't shoot him, but yet he also needs to find the money.
Or you get shot.
Yeah. And so it's a circle that can never be squared. Again, another analogy.
Yeah,
But, it is. It cannot be squared until you sack him. That is the squaring of the circle.
yeah, and it's just like if again if you go and beat Villa, it's the same thing. Because if you go and play bad next week, we're exactly where we started, and then you'll hear them all saying again,
That's why you need to
Graham
sack him
Potter's in
tomorrow
talks with West
before he
Ham
get.
again.
Yeah, that's why you need to sack him tomorrow before he gets that chance.
He's
And
got
I
to
think
go.
that's what they're I can almost imagine that is what they are terrified of, that he wins. Weirdly enough, because
I
then
think. Oh, go on. It cut
I was
out for
just
a
gonna,
second then.
it puts them in such a position when you can't sack a manager who's knocked Villa out of the FA Cup. You can't do it.
No,
You'd be nuts. So then what do you do?
I think there's only one reason he's there at the moment,
Or
and I think it's because Potter hasn't given a definitive yes.
well, he's not. He's playing both clubs.
Of course he is, but he also
You know,
knows that what West Ham have offered is a short-term contract. Now Everton might come in
West
and
Ham
say
need to
we'll
give him
offer
a
a
long.
longer-term contract.
Yeah, I know what West Ham are doing, and I have to agree with it. But they need to give him a long-term contract, or at least a 2-year contract,
Of
like
course,
Lopetegui.
or even 18
But
months until the
yeah,
end of next season.
because West Ham is the option for Potter. If you look at
Then
both sides, right?
it's the perfect fit, and you should have gone for him in the
Yeah,
summer.
exactly. But it's more. I mean, if it was West Ham and Man United, then you'd have a bit of a debate, wouldn't you, about which one? Because you could see why someone would go to United to make
Yeah,
them great again.
yeah,
Everton, which kills me to say, Everton are a bigger club than West Ham in trophies, in history.
yeah,
They are a bigger
definitely.
club. But right now, they are lingering. You go to Everton now, you're a point above relegation, your squad's dead, you have to rebuild the squad, you have to be in FFP restrictions
You go
because
to Everton
Machinery.
now, hang on, because I've just had this, and I completely get your point, and this perfect little analysis has popped into my head again. You know what
Oh,
I'm
go
like
on.
with coming up with
I do.
comparisons.
We all know what you're like now. Go on.
You go to Everton, there's a shock, and the roof is caving in.
Yeah,
It's on the edge. It's gonna die if no one does something about it soon. So, a
yeah,
new owner comes in, obviously freaking group,
yeah,
but you need a new boss, a boss man, should we say, of the shop.
yeah,
So he's got to come in, but then you're saying, well, we'll finance it as the owners, but we want you to do the work, right? We want you to fix the roof. So you fix the roof, but
yeah,
then say the players, you got all your broken shells and everything. So we
yeah,
want you to rebuild that. We want you to fix some of them to a
yeah,
better quality than what they are, or
yeah,
even were. But we're going to give you some money. We want some new ones in. It's literally like you go into that building and you're trying to repair the whole thing. Because Everton, if
yeah.
they go
And while
down at
you're
the
doing it, a
moment, they'll
fire
collapse.
starts.
Well,
Yeah, and while you're doing it, a
the
fire
fire is on the
starts.
bottom floor at the moment. You
Yeah,
need to
you're
stop it
constantly
coming onto
putting them
your
out.
shop. You need to stop
That,
that from
that's
taking
the
over.
problem, though. But even when you put that new panel up, then it catches fire, and you
Yeah,
constantly putting out fires at Everton for the moment, anyway.
you need to fireproof the material as well. It's a
Exactly.
whole process of they need to press a reset button. And
Yeah,
West Ham at the moment for Potter, I think, is the perfect club because they've got a lot of young players, and we saw what he did with young players at Brighton. They've
yeah,
got a lot of young players. They've got a decent academy. Maybe not going to set the world alight, but you've got that Ollie Scholes, Lewis Orford, Freddie Potts out on loan. He looks promising, by
yeah.
the way.
George
Freddie
Earthy.
Potts. Yeah, yeah. But
I
Freddie
mean, he's on
Potts
loan at
has
the
looked
minute, I think.
promising at
Oh,
Portsmouth.
yeah, yeah. Freddie
Um,
Potts.
these are the sort of
Look,
players that get in, and Potter maybe gives them a chance. Whereas
yeah,
Lopetegui seems a little bit like I don't want to play young players.
yeah. And I think you can see George. I think George Earthy's on loan, isn't
Yeah, Bristol, I
he?
think
Yeah,
one of the Bristol
Bristol. That's right.
clubs.
Yeah, so you can see him bringing those I mean, George Earthy on his last day was an absolute. I don't know what he's like at Bristol Rovers. I've not seen him, or as a Bristol City, whatever. He was an absolute beast on
He
that
was.
match. He looked like a player that you could sell for 50, 75 million. Obviously, that's a one game impression, but that day it showed the potential he has, and they don't always get to their potential. They always peak. Some of them peak early and whatever. I know all these facts, but ultimately he, all these young players can make a start in, 6 or 7 when you've got problems, which is what you need. Right now, we have a massive problem in attack when they're all out. That's when you need to bring on young players instead of the old guard because you're already losing.
Yeah.
You've got to take a risk. You've already lost. You've lost the game because you only have about 5 players left.
The Brazilian kid you signed, he was meant to be a Brazilian wonder kid, was he not?
What was that? Sorry.
That Brazilian kid you signed, he was meant to be a
Yeah,
Brazilian
yeah,
wonder kid. No, he's
Guilherme,
played.
yeah,
What has he played? 15 minutes.
yeah, and they want to send him back to Brazil already.
Yeah,
Yeah, and again, it didn't. These things don't always work out, but you paid so much for him.
but he
You're not
gets
going
a
to get that
chance under
back.
Potter. I think. I honestly think he gets a chance under Potter.
Well, you got to hope so.
There's a player in there. When he played against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, he looked like a promising player.
Yeah, no, he did, but he obviously wants to go back. 'Cause he's not been given a chance, and I
Wants to
agree
go
with him.
back because he hasn't had a chance. Maybe under Potter things change a little bit because
Yeah,
Potter
and
will like that kind of
it
young
yeah,
attacking player.
it's lucky that Guilherme's under contract because there's nothing he can do about it.
No,
And that is, I hate to say it because he is human in the end of this, the end of the day. But he's stuck, and there's nothing he can do. So we have all the cards, and we need to use those cards and replace the guy. Replace Lopetegui with a manager that's going to use your £35 million player. I think it was.
I think it
It's
was
not to be, it's not to be
25. Was
sniffed
it?
at. Is it 25?
It's a lot for a kid that
Yeah, it is.
has never
It's
played
not
in
to be.
Europe.
It's not to be. It's not to be sniffed at, is it?
No,
Really?
you don't
You
disregard
could,
him after 6 months.
and even if he fails a bit, you can put him on, play the rest of the season, next season, probably get 25 million for him
Give
if
him
it
a
doesn't
couple
go
of
well.
starts. Give him a couple of starts. Build his
Yeah,
confidence. You can't. Look, no one, and I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying,
yeah,
the way that the media, we are not the same media as everyone else. That is
no.
why our football podcast is full of sense and fact,
Yeah,
unlike the
exactly.
media. Do
Yeah,
excuse media people for their
yeah,
lies and
they always
misgivings.
over dramatise things, don't they?
Yeah. Whereas we like to get straight to the point. But
We do. I love
if
it.
he hasn't been given starts, you can't, like the media out there now. Yeah, he's a failure. He should go back to Brazil. He's just not started a game yet.
I could not agree more. I think you cannot say he's failed.
Give
You
him a
can say
start.
Lopetegui's failed.
Well, he has. We know that. But against
Exactly, but that's what I'm
Liverpool,
saying.
he was probably the best player you pulled
Yeah,
off of the bench was probably him.
I agree, and he probably performed better than the rest of them.
He did.
That
And
was
he
one
was
of
up
those
for it. He
games.
wanted it.
It was one of those games where yes, Liverpool played well. Now we'll not take that away from them, but we could have quite easily played a lot better. We were not very good, and we practically handed Liverpool that victory.
But
They worked for it, sure, but on a better day, it wouldn't have been that. I can tell you.
nah, definitely not.
And we
Um,
always it's always Liverpool that we get it. I think the last 3 or 4 games, weirdly enough. If you look at no, the last 1, 2, 3, 4 games, we've lost to you by more than 4 goals.
apart from that 2-2 draw in April, if I speak, there will be fire.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. The 2-all draw. Yeah. So I
So
remember that
three out
now.
of
It
the
was
last
Mary's
four, you've lost
birthday.
by more than five,
No,
more than
4 at the
four
last 5,
goals.
I believe.
Is it that bad?
Yeah. 2 cups, possibly not. Two
Three cups,
cups.
one cup.
That was good. 2 cups. 1 Premier League match. Maybe it is 3 at the last 4 then.
3 out of 4 at
Still
least.
not a good statistic
No,
because not many other clubs have got that against
but
us.
again, Moyes had defensive issues. Moyes,
Yeah.
what you've done, and I saw it yesterday, and it wasn't because I try to avoid the media as much as I can, but it was a West Ham fan channel, I think,
Yeah. The
and
West
he
Ham
said,
Fan Network.
no, I think it might have
Shout
been
out to
the
them, by the way.
Hammers chat.
West Ham Fan Network. I like.
Yeah, no, that is good. That is.
Well, the Scottish people I've noticed, which makes me feel more at home.
There's a lot of Scottish West Ham fans. But
So
one of them
many.
said, I don't know what channel it was. I genuinely don't know what channel it was. And maybe it was Talksport, coming
Yeah.
back to. But it was one of the presenters that isn't that bad, if you get what I mean. And he
Yeah.
said, all West Ham have done. He said, you got an attacking squad. He basically said what we kind of accidentally ended up
What
making the
we've
same
been saying
points.
for
Yeah.
ages.
But he said, why would you take out Moyes and then appoint Spanish Moyes?
Yeah. And a low grade one at that.
A worse version, but similar principles, similar football idea. Why would you appoint the Spanish version of the same as what you've had, but even worse?
Yeah. Because in some ways he was actually better. I remember saying this back in the day, and I still hold that. I think there's certain games where we came back from games we wouldn't have come back from. The problem is that I think that's gone now. That magic, whatever it was, has gone.
Yeah.
And that's where my problem is.
And I think as much as the fans wanted him out, your team played for him. When they could,
Yeah.
they played for him.
Oh, yeah. And they're not playing for Lopetegui now.
They're not playing for Lopetegui at all.
They did.
No
They did
chance.
for a while.
They did.
And against Wolves, they certainly played for him. But the issue was, in my opinion, that they played for him then because they saw something. Now they don't, and I don't know if his dad dying would have had some effect on him. You would like to think it did, as a human. Maybe he needs time
You'd
out.
think so, yeah. Maybe a
You
break from football isn't
if
the
that
worst
happened
thing.
to if that happened to me or you, I would like to think that we would say, look, gonna have a break from this. This is way too much.
Yeah,
You
you'd hope
know.
so.
So yeah, I mean, we always dehumanize managers. I get it; they're on crazy money a week. I do get it, but there's also the realistic side. They do have these things called emotions that we all have.
It's not the
It
kind
doesn't
of
matter.
job, though, is it, where they say, oh, Lopetegui's going to have 4 weeks off and then he's coming back. You've never
The,
seen that happen with a
no,
manager.
there was a brilliant article, and I'm trying to get the quote right, where they said at that time that there was two things so important to Lopetegui: football and family.
Mm.
And now that's reversed. It's family and football.
Yeah,
And then the two best things suddenly become the two worst things.
yeah,
And he does not need football in his life right now. I bet football to him is so insignificant at the minute.
yeah.
Because it
And I
is to
think,
me, if any, even if a bizarre, a small drama occurs, football goes right to the back of my
yeah,
mind. And
that's the same for most people, I would imagine. Like,
yeah,
as soon as something happens in your life, you don't think about the next football match for a little.
no,
You're thinking of what's going on.
yeah. And we have to recognise that.
But this is the thing, and this isn't me saying it is or it isn't in that for him. I'm
Yeah.
not taking aim at Lopetegui or anything about him at the moment. I'm saying football's not the job that you'll say, yeah, he's been given 4 weeks off and he'll come back because
Yeah, I agree. Because you
it's
can.
no,
I mean, who do you replace? It's not like the receptionist, at the office.
right.
No
We've
offense,
replaced
Carol, but
Lopetegui for 4 weeks with Boris from reception.
yeah,
What formation
no,
are you
no
going to play,
offense, Carol, but
Doris?
you're very replaceable.
Well, I think
Lopetegui
I'm
is
going to
not.
play a 1-1-4-4. Right, and
Yes,
what's
because
that
that
going to do,
sounds good.
Doris? I don't know, but it sounds quite nice. It just
Yeah,
wouldn't work.
that's the problem. By the way, 1144 would be fascinating.
It, it really would. I don't know what you'd do
Jesus.
with the four. I suppose you'd have one centre back, one
Yeah,
defensive midfielder, a wing back, two attacking midfielders, and then
yeah.
four forwards.
All strikers, yeah.
Well, or you could have a right winger and a left winger and two strikers in the middle.
Yeah, it would actually be when you actually look at it. If you got more than 11 players, it'd be not a little bad formation.
It might be the one at the back that might.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the issue, isn't it? Really,
Well, yeah. I mean, look at
you're
the
gonna have
space
a
there's big.
you got to have a really wide, tall person at the back if you get my drift.
Oh,
But
I think I do. I think the appropriate word there would be hello.
oh god, let's not. Let's not.
Come on, let's not get the
Okay,
show cancelled before it actually launches in more
yeah, that
places
wouldn't
and
be
actually
good. That
becomes
wouldn't be good.
available. That would not be what we're aiming for.
That wouldn't be good.
2025 was meant to be the year of the podcast, not the death of it.
Yeah, that would not be good.
But hello, if
Um,
you're out there, let me know what the price is, yeah?
yeah, exactly. I'd sign you.
We could halve the
Uh,
price.
oh,
Listen,
okay.
this podcast was not invented for the snowflake.
No, it really wasn't. Moving on then. Where do we? I'll let
Is
you
he? I
pick
thought he
next.
was
I think.
still in goal. You're not telling me they've signed him, are you?
Yeah, for 2 million. Yeah,
That was half the price, that was.
yeah, it really was.
Should
Quarter of
we
the cake.
should we cover Forest next? Just because
Yeah.
what is going on over at Forest at the minute?
Jesus Christ, unbelievable. I mean, I'm happy for him being one of the old guard.
Yeah.
But, jeez, I mean, Marilakis must be bouncing off the wall right now.
Well, I think he's probably bouncing off the balcony now. As long as he bounces
Yeah,
back up, he'll be all right.
yeah, exactly. He will do because he's
Well,
nuts.
he's the kind of
But
person that would go outside and quite literally bounce off the balcony, I think.
yeah, didn't they find him having a smoke and they had to interview him?
Did they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, he had to go at VAR and then they voted to keep it.
yeah, literally, so bizarre.
Yeah, I think the only thing I could draw from that day was that he obviously has access to the club's Twitter account because the
Yeah,
tweets that were coming out.
and he didn't have access to the club's voting record.
Well, there you go. But
He seems to have calmed down a lot though.
yeah, well, he's in a good position at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah, literally.
Wait
And
till the end of
so,
the season. I bet you won't be calm then. Not if they
no,
stay where they are.
I can't wait.
No, neither
But
can I.
do you think there's a realistic chance to have Champions League football for Forest? Because we've ruled it out, saying, oh, they'll get some tough games soon. And they do. And they actually do really well.
Do I think there's a possibility? Yes. I mean, if you look now, I think it's Chelsea are 4 points behind them in fourth. And then there's another drop off of another point, is it, or 2 points? So they've got a
Yeah.
little bit of a cushion, which means they can afford to lose one or two games. Their goal difference is not great compared to the teams around them, but points wise, they can afford to drop a few points. Now, we're just over halfway through the season. Realistically, they've still got to face the big six, right?
Yeah.
But what that also means is the big six have got to face each other.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest have got to face the bottom teams, which you'd expect them to win. The big
Yeah.
six, at some point, there's going to be points dropped by one team or both if it's a draw, but someone is going to have to drop points in those games.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know. I'm not going to say that there is a possibility. I'm not going to say there's not a possibility. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say it's going to happen, but if they stay consistent and results go their way, maybe a little bit, because like I said, their goal difference wouldn't help them in a
Isn't
battle at the
good.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
If results go their way, you could see them getting maybe a fourth. I mean, Chelsea, you'd imagine they'll pick up again eventually. They might take the third place, but
Yeah.
below
It
them,
is unbelievable. If you told me last season that Nottingham Forest would be there,
you
I
wouldn't
would
have
have bit
believed
your
it.
hand off to say that.
It seems
It's
like a new
unbelievable.
team every season, if you've noticed. So a few years ago, we had Brighton. They qualified
Yeah.
for you. Yes, Newcastle qualified for the top four the same year, but Brighton also were the underdog team that qualified for
They
Europe.
were the two underdogs, actually, I think,
Yeah,
because no one saw Newcastle coming,
no.
really.
Villa, they did it again. Well, last year they got into the Champions League, but the year before they got into Europe.
Yeah.
This year seems to be the year of Forest. But you see that, but Bournemouth have got a little bit of a cushion in their European spot now.
Yeah.
They could easily get into the Conference League. I'm not saying they will
Quite
again
easily.
because there's too many teams around that area. But when you get
Yeah.
to the top four at the moment, if you look at Forest, they've got a cushion. So say next game week, they might lose. But because they've got a 4 point gap, whatever happens, they could go second if they win and Arsenal drop points. Or if they lose, they're going to stay third because for Chelsea to win puts them still a point behind Forest. So
Yeah.
they can afford to lose a couple of games. I'm not. They can't afford to lose all of them. But
I agree. But as long as they lose the right ones, then they'll be fine.
you'd expect City and that City's got to play the top six. They're going to drop points in at least one or two of them. Even if they come back, they're going to drop points somewhere.
Yeah.
You'd imagine Chelsea. I mean, Liverpool and Chelsea like a draw. That could be points dropped there. Give Forest maybe a chance. Arsenal, they
Well,
seem
Forest
to.
have got Liverpool soon as well, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah, but Arsenal seem to be a team this season intent on drawing games. That
Yeah.
could allow Forest a little bit of a catch up again. Liverpool Forest, he's out Forest. That's going to be hard for Liverpool. That is honestly going to be
Yeah.
a hard game
The
for
first one
Liverpool.
was hard, wasn't it? You lost us. Did you lose the first one? You did, didn't you?
We lost it, and now I said to my mate Josh a little while ago, when you look back, because he's a Forest fan. Hopefully you find this, by the way, Josh, because you're probably interested in what we're saying. But if you
Good man,
lose,
Josh. You're doing well.
well, I said if you look at, so say you go back now to October and we lost to Forest. Looking now at their league position and the consistency they've shown this season,
Yeah.
it doesn't look bad on paper that we lost to Forest because they have not been a bad team. They
No, it
really
doesn't
haven't.
look bad. It looked
They're on
worse at
equal
the
points to
time.
second,
Yeah, it looked worse at the time.
but no one knew what they were going to do. Now, when I think it came to attention of what Forest were doing was, I always remember I had a goal on end of October. Forest had snuck into the top four, and I thought, all right, because obviously that day couldn't watch the football, obvious reasons,
Yeah, yeah.
probably get sent off. But I thought, all right, they've had a great start. I don't think they're going to stay here, but they're definitely doing something compared to last year. I think they've probably fallen out of the top four since then once, twice at the most.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you I saw that coming anyway.
They're on 40 points, right?
I thought
After
we'd actually have quite a rough season this season.
Yeah, but on 20 games, they're on 40 points. So if you take that as an average of just over, they're going to end in the high 70s. If they carry on like this, they will end in the high 70s for points. I don't think they will, because I think they will drop
No.
points.
Of course,
But
yeah.
on paper
But we've
now,
been
they could
saying
end
this
with
for
about
ages.
78 points.
And we've been saying this for ages, they're going to drop points, but they never do.
Well,
And
so what have they got left? They've got 18 games. So theoretically, if my maths is correct, which I've just done a micro calculation, could be wrong, they could end the season on 94 points if they went and won every game.
Yeah,
They won't. And I think
that's about
probably
right.
70 to 75 points the way they're playing is realistic.
Mm. But it's still good for them.
It's ridiculous for them considering last year I
Yeah,
think they had 30, was it 32?
yeah, they did not
And
do
they're on
well last
40
season.
already.
Yeah,
Nuno though, I said it again. Josh has been posting a lot about Forest lately. As you can imagine, he's pretty over the moon by it.
he's yeah,
But
he's having a
Nuno's
very good
proven in a
time.
way because Nuno's done it at Wolves. He hasn't
Yeah,
done
that is
this,
true.
but their first season in the Premier League, they came up and he qualified for Europe. He then
Very true.
went to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, finished seventh again, but due to the FA Cup, I think they didn't get their second season in Europe. So two seventh place finishes. They'd never played together in the Premier League. Nuno had never managed in the Premier League. So he's
Yeah,
come in now with what I would say is probably a better squad. Not maybe some of the players went on to be brilliant players from that Wolves team, maybe, but
yeah, but
the
perspective
Forest
wise, I
squad
see what you
is
mean.
experienced. They were here last year. Yes, okay,
And
they
so
didn't
is
do
Nuno.
well. Yeah, but they didn't do well. But the squad was
No.
together. They were
Yeah.
experienced. They know what the Premier League's like. Now Nuno is experienced in doing this. He takes teams further up. And he's got a more experienced squad than what you had. Arguably, probably more quality in the squad.
I
And
agree.
I'm I can't say, oh, Nuno was never going to do it because Nuno's proven that he can do it. And now
Yeah.
this is kind of him. It's almost like even to Tottenham for sacking him. It's kind of like, well, fuck you, Tottenham. I don't need you.
Yeah.
Like, you
But
know,
Tottenham do that to everyone, and then they all
Tottenham
tend
didn't
to do
give him
well.
time. But it makes me wonder because Tottenham have given every other manager time. Too
Mm.
much time sometimes. You look at Conte, that lasted so
Yeah,
long it
yeah.
turned sour. You look at Ange, to a degree, that's turning sour. Nuno was out by October, 10 matches into the league.
Yeah.
I don't know if something happened internally, but he got
Well,
less time than most other managers have had at
do
Tottenham.
you think this whole thing? Because again, well, I guess we should move on to Tottenham now. Then
Yeah, so yeah,
uh, it's a good segue, isn't it?
it is. We seem
Um,
to be great at doing that by accident.
yeah, I think we will just keep doing it now.
I think so, yeah.
Um, so Big Ange given too much time. Do you reckon? I mean, there's this whole theory that Daniel Levy likes to keep his yes men around. I'm getting a bit sick of the attacks on Daniel Levy, and even I'm getting sick of him. Because these results are not his fault. He does not. He's not the manager. He's the owner. Well, he's not even the
So,
owner. Actually,
well, no, he's the chairman.
the Lewis Trust is the owner.
Yeah. Where's he gone these days?
Well, it's
Last
not
I
even
heard,
him
he
that
got
owns it.
arrested.
Yeah, no, he got released.
Oh,
No,
did he?
sorry, he did probation.
No, no, that's nice
And
for him.
yeah, now he's a free man. But he doesn't own Tottenham. The
No,
trust do, which basically
yeah.
means Daniel does because the trust doesn't have any power to tell Daniel to do anything.
No, it is basically
So
day to day, it is Daniel's club.
yeah, and it always has been. Even when Sugar owned it, I think towards the end, Daniel was put in charge.
Well, I'm going to fire myself from Tottenham.
Best thing he ever did, Sugar.
I
But
wonder if he said when he left Tottenham, "You're fired."
yeah, I think he probably did to Levy.
He probably tried, and Levy probably turned around and said, "No, you're fired. Out you go."
Yeah, yeah, literally. But
You can't
I've
sugarcoat that, can you?
no, I've heard from all the owners. Right, here's the interesting thing.
Have you? When
They
did you
like.
speak to? I'm a little bit jealous now.
Oh yeah, I spoke to him yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, let's hope soon. Soon we'll build this podcast and we'll get sources and links. Let's hope.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
even a bit of sponsorship because
exactly.
people have
Be
created a
good.
full time job out of talking about football. Why can't we?
Yeah, exactly. But people, the owners, and the various chairmen seem to like Daniel Levy. They say he's a
Yeah,
tough guy to negotiate with,
yeah.
but they like him. He keeps them on their
What
toes.
is it
And
they say?
he's
Tough but reasonable.
yeah, and they say he's very fair, almost too fair,
Yeah,
but very very tough, and he will always drive a bargain. But everything the fans seem to hate him, and I can see why. On paper, I can see why they're the most profitable club I think in the Premier League, or one of. But they don't spend it on players. But they kind of do it. They don't want to be making losses because they don't want to get into FFP like
yeah.
Liverpool. You don't want. I don't know why a club wants to be in that position because I certainly don't, and
No,
we're getting close to it now. Believe it or not. You
I'd
know,
love to buy more players, but I wouldn't want to be in
yeah.
that position.
No, and he has made a very healthy club. Whoever buys that club in whatever day, inherits a really healthy club,
Yep.
brilliant balance sheet,
Brilliant stadium.
probably got 100 years ahead of it unless you do something terribly wrong. Why wouldn't you be happy about that? The club is Tottenham is not a trophy winning club. There's a
No.
running joke about the fact that in the new stadium they forgot to build a trophy cabinet, but
Well, I said
it
to my
is
mate the other day, and it wasn't the best joke in the world, but he's a Tottenham fan, and even he
yeah,
was sitting there, he's like, "Wow," as in like,
yeah,
"Okay, fair play to you." But I said,
yeah,
a couple of burglars broke into Tottenham a few weeks ago, and they took the club's trophy cabinet, but nothing was taken.
yeah. Yeah, that sums it up really, doesn't it? That's the problem. But they're not a trophy winning team, so I think Tottenham and when
Can
you
you
take
imagine
them
the
to
person that had to build the trophy cabinet, and you've built it and thought, "What's the point in building this? Because it's never going to be used."
yeah, literally, yeah. It's probably got a lock on the door that no one's found the
No
key
one probably
to.
knows the code for it.
Yeah.
Probably hasn't got one.
Yeah, exactly. And then when Levy sells it, there's no point telling the new owner the code either.
No,
But realistically, I just think Tottenham are not a trophy winning club, right?
no, they're
So
not.
I think all things considered, they have done well over the last few years to keep the club so profitable,
Yeah,
frankly.
yeah, they
How
have.
they do it, I think they're more profitable than United.
I think they're one of the more profitable clubs in the Premier League or in world
Yeah, and
football, to be honest.
that's because they actually funded their own stadium,
Yeah,
which again is not something many we don't have it. Even City don't have their own stadium.
no,
They pay 5 million a year for theirs.
and that's the thing. Tottenham, if you take that, it is probably the best run club that you'll get for the way that it's sort of been done. It's a careful club,
Yeah,
but they
it
also know
is.
how to plan ahead. But with Ange, I don't know because I feel like Tottenham have tried every kind of football. They've tried the Conte football, they've tried this football, that
Yeah,
football. They've had Pochettino, they've had Mourinho. They've gone from one character to the complete opposite character,
yeah,
and it hasn't brought them anything. But yeah, I personally think Ange just dug himself the hole of he refuses to adapt in games. And I think if
that's
anything's
his
going to cost
problem.
him, yeah, and that is what will cost him. Because
Yeah,
sometimes, especially at the moment when you've got so many injuries, and they have got an injury crisis there at the moment,
yeah,
they need to adapt. But he is seemingly refusing point blank 100%.
yeah.
I'm not going to do it. When you haven't
But
got
you've
a full
also
squad, you have to do it.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you've also got to ask why there's an injury crisis because that's not normal. The amount of injuries they're racking up is not,
It's not normal.
average. It is not. And look, I like Ange. I really like Ange. I think he plays some really entertaining football, especially as a non-Tottenham fan. I can say it. I
I've got the
quite like
most
them getting
entertaining
beat.
sides to watch.
Yeah, but that's the thing. But that's all they are. And
But they
and
shouldn't be because they're only the most entertaining side because he won't change it.
yeah,
Yes, all right, it's great to watch as a neutral, but
I don't think he can. I think that's all he knows. But
yeah,
at first, you could forgive him because it was a mentality thing. He's like, I'm not changing. These players will bend to my will, like a force of nature. But now it's what a year and a half on or whatever it is, like 2 years, no, a year on, is it? Since Ange
he's
came,
been there a year and a half now.
a year and a half, yeah. So there you go. So a year and a half on, and he's sort of he's not even changed one bit, and you respect that in some ways, but he has to do that with a team that works.
Yeah,
I heard a West Ham fan crooning for Big Ange the other day. It was very cringy, I gotta say. But
I can only imagine.
yeah, but you can see where they're coming from in some ways. The more deluded fans.
Yeah,
I see their point. I take their point. I don't
he's
agree
the
with their
opposite
point.
of Floppy, isn't he? So
Yeah,
I think
so
you
you can
get a
see why.
degree of fans who they'll take anything that is the
Yeah,
exact opposite of
but
what they've
here's
got.
the thing: as someone that's not going to win a trophy in the next year or two, I think we can agree on that. I can say the same as what the Tottenham fans can say, right?
Yep.
And it's this: if you're not going to win a trophy, you might as well have the next best thing, which is entertaining football. And I totally see that point. I disagree with it, but I see the point,
Yeah,
and it's a very valid point to have. And I can't argue against it too much because it's purely an opinion-based thing. I want to finish up as far up the league as I can.
I can't
Tottenham
let you do
fans,
that because there's money in it.
yeah, well there you go. Tottenham, Tottenham. Again, I prefer not to speak.
I
The,
prefer not to
the,
speak.
yeah, the Tottenham thing, it's that they're not going to win anything, so they might as well have and if they're happy with him, I don't see the problem. If the fans want him, because a lot of the fans seem to still back him, it's very 50-50 ish. But if they want him, let them have him.
Yeah, But I think now, yeah, it's 50-50. But where at the end of last season and fans were saying, give him time and we're going to do
Well, it was
something.
70-30, really, wasn't it?
I don't know, maybe 90 at that point because so many fans thought we had a promising start to this season. If we hadn't picked up a
Yeah,
few injuries, maybe we could have done
true.
something. But I don't. I think on a business point, Tottenham are going to eventually look right. Everything stacks up against him from their point because they're now 12th in the Premier League, 12th out of 20 teams.
Yeah,
Looks like the classic Tottenham, back in the early 2000s where they were,
yeah,
um, which is everything they've tried to build from
yeah,
and not to be there.
yeah,
He's refusing to make changes. So from their point of view, they're thinking, well, we're going to just keep sort of losing or conceding or whatever. Eventually, I think he will become his own sacking, if that makes
yeah.
sense. He will be
I
what gets
agree.
him out of that club, not
He's his own
anything else.
undoing.
Yeah,
He's the type of manager that would get himself relegated and go, "Yeah, I'm changing nothing next season."
yeah.
I mean, it
I'm
doesn't
sticking with
work.
it, and I don't care what you say. I'm keeping it, but it
In
doesn't
fairness,
work.
it would work in the championship, but
No, it actually wouldn't all the time because a lot of the championship is also defense based,
yeah,
and
true. But the teams are worse.
they'd score a lot of goals, but they'd
Some would
probably
make some who min would make mince me out of them lot.
Dominic Solanke would down there.
Yeah,
He
that's
has
true.
done with Bournemouth, hasn't he?
Oh,
But
oh yeah, that is true. Oh,
I
they
also
are
think
scary when you watch them play
that
inferior teams.
they'd have they would still have Tottenham's defence for dinner because they like
That is true.
the
Yeah,
championship. They like a striker that's in the box and it'll sort of
yeah.
attack you. And Tottenham would be perfect for
Millwall
allowing
Tottenham
that.
would be fun.
That would be probably the sort of boring game that would end in like a 0-0 draw or something stupid,
Mm.
or a 1-1 draw because
Yeah,
Milner
that's what I mean.
managed
But
to break past
For
Tottenham. Yeah,
Tottenham, that is the
yeah.
most unusual thing in the world.
I don't think they're going to go down. Obviously,
No, of course they're
he's
not.
not. He's not. I don't know. You can get a win against teams like Southampton. When a team's inferior, they destroy them, and that is when it's good
Yeah,
to watch. And yeah, I say they'd probably concede in the championship. They would, but they would score so many goals
I can
because
tell
of
you
the.
it was fun to watch Tottenham Southampton.
It was. This is the thing. And against the inferior teams is great, but the problem is Tottenham are becoming one of the bottom half teams. Then you start
Yeah.
looking. Oh, well, how many inferior teams are there that they can go and
But
do
again,
that
you
to?
sack hands, who do you go for?
I don't know because, as I said to you, Tottenham have
Yeah,
tried every kind of manager, but the problem is
yeah,
eventually the club and the people that make the decisions in clubs. This is not just Tottenham for a second. In general,
yeah,
they're
hmm,
going to look at their league positions and think, "Well, we shouldn't be here." Now,
yeah,
everybody knows that when you shouldn't be in a league position, the answer is we're going to sack the manager. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, we're going to sack the manager.
I agree.
Eventually, if Tottenham don't get back up that table, Ange could find himself there.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
where
think
they
you're right.
go after that. Maybe Thomas Frank. Maybe.
Interesting, yeah. They could nick him, yeah.
Proved his point, hasn't he? I think he is ready for that step up.
Yeah,
I
I
honestly
agree.
think he's been around. He probably was ready after their first season in the
Not a
Premier
step
League.
up, it's probably a step down.
Well, you know what I mean, though. There's probably a better squad on
Yeah,
paper.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I do agree. On a
I
serious note, I
think
think
he's been smart, Thomas Frank. He's been smart to stay there for as long as he has. He's
how long now
improved
do you know?
since October 2018.
I was thinking that
Funny
weirdly
enough, I
enough.
looked at that this morning because I was curious. Um,
Yeah, 2018 was in my head, but I couldn't work
yeah,
out when.
after Dean Smith went to Aston Villa,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
he's been
Oh,
smart
that was
enough,
fun.
Thomas
Yeah,
Frank. He's been smart enough. Even last couple of years when Brentford have been pushing and pushing, and he said, "Well, I'm happy where I am. I want to
yeah,
keep going, and when I feel ready, I'll take the step up." So we don't know if he's going to leave Brentford. They're actually having a decent season. He might want to see
yeah,
that out. I don't know, but at the moment, if you're someone who wants a good balance, because Tottenham's got a balanced squad more than anything, maybe
yeah,
it's probably going to be a 4-3-3 under Frank. A bit more defensive work, but also the attackers will get forward. Like I mean, look at um, Johan Visser and Brian and
oh yeah,
Bremer at Brentford. They're scoring for fun.
yeah,
So the attackers will get forward if Frank goes in, but there'll also be
but
more defensive work, and that
yeah,
I think is probably the tweak that I honestly think he could be a very, very good shot for Tottenham because he would tweak the squad to just suit how they need to play. and I think you see them go up the table again. I'm not saying they're going to go and batter teams 5-0 every week, but I
Yeah,
think you see them go up the table again. You
but it'd be much
possibly
more
see it go on a
interesting.
cup run, maybe an FA Cup run. But it's hard
Yeah.
at the same time because Ange's not going to sack like get. Well, I say he's not going to get
Do you
sacked. They
think they win
sacked
the League Cup?
Mourinho.
Because I think they've got
No,
Liverpool in the League Cup, haven't they,
no, I don't
Tottenham?
think they win the League Cup.
No, so you think do you think you will knock them out, or
Even
do you
if
think
we
they'll get
don't,
to a final?
even if we
Yeah.
don't, I don't think they win the League Cup.
Okay, who do you think wins the League Cup then? I wanna answer. I'm gonna get these out of you before the end of the podcast now.
I
So I
go
think
for
we're coming to the end. Really, we've done our annual roundup.
at the moment on current forms and current in sort of feelings.
Yep.
I would go for a Liverpool Arsenal final.
Okay. Who wins?
Nah, you're doing it to me, aren't you?
Who wins? I want an answer.
Liverpool 1-0.
Okay, you're a pundit now. You know that's the P word. You gotta give me an answer.
You're a pundit as well.
Yeah, and I can give you an answer though.
Go on, then.
Well, I'm gonna go for a slight
It's all
upset
right
because I
for a
don't think.
neutral, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one that got knocked out in the
You wouldn't
last
know what a
round,
trophy is
the
under
round before that.
Floppateggy.
A trophy for you. I don't know what that thing is.
The
Probably,
Trophor.
yeah, probably made of tinfoil. But
Yours probably would be this season, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it'd
no, the
probably have
Conference League one was probably so low budget.
Lopetegui's head through it with oh, what are them things called?
Don't
Ah,
know.
you know them
Yeah,
poles,
the what?
poles that they used to fight with.
No.
Knights when they used to fight.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean now. Yeah,
Oh, I don't know what made me say this. I was about to call it a nonce.
right.
I was
Careful, we
about to
really don't
say,
want cancelled.
I was about to say it will probably be an image of Lopetegui with a nonce pole on his head.
Jesus Christ. Well, a
They're not
lance, you
called.
mean?
I don't. Yeah, that's,
A lance, yeah.
that's what I meant. See, I couldn't decide between a nunce and a nonce. And
Okay.
Donald,
Well,
I
yeah.
wish I could tell you I was joking, but I can
Yeah.
lads on as you. I was stuck between a nunce and a nonce.
Okay. Of course you were. The problem is, I do believe you. Anyway,
Anyway,
my League
so
Cup
with Lopetegui
analysis.
with his nonce on his head, what's your
Yeah.
predictions?
But I think I'm going to go for a more in depth one. I think because Newcastle have Arsenal. So if for whatever reason Newcastle beat Arsenal,
It's the arse derby.
it makes. I suppose it is, yeah. Makes it very interesting. But I think ultimately, I think it's going to be. I think you're right. I think it has to be. I think it could be a. In some ways, it could very well be a Tottenham Arsenal final. You know, I could see the thing with Liverpool is they get wins, but they also lose at the most inconvenient times. And
Mm.
I think with it being two legs, I think that makes it really interesting.
And it also depends on what squad Liverpool put out, because
Agreed.
this is probably Tottenham's biggest match in a long, long time. So you
Yeah,
know they're going full strength.
I agree.
Well, they can't exactly go full strength, but
Arsenal win, by
with
the
what
way, if
they've
it's a
got,
Tottenham Arsenal final.
yeah, 100%.
But I think it'll be really interesting. I don't think it's as cut out as everyone thinks. I don't think it, and it may well be. It may well just
Well,
be a boring Liverpool Arsenal
I've got my
final.
prediction that I had this morning actually, which I should have brought in earlier, but I'll tell you it. We lose on Wednesday at Tottenham Stadium.
Okay,
We
yeah,
lose one
that's
nil,
yeah.
but we win it 2-0
Who
at
won?
Anfield.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that.
That is my
I
prediction.
think
I think we're going to lose at Tottenham Stadium.
I think what makes it interesting is the two legs. I really think that makes it so interesting.
Yeah. So I think they're trying to get rid of that as well.
Yeah, they can. I don't even like getting rid of replays in midweek. I heard that the FA Cup was going midweek, but loads of these fixtures are midweek.
I heard it was going weekends only, and they'd have
That's what I'm saying. I
dedicated
read that as
weekends.
well, but it's not weekends though because we're playing on Friday.
Yeah.
Everton are playing on Thursday. Newcastle are playing tomorrow, I think.
No, they're playing
So
Arsenal tonight in the League Cup.
tonight, sorry, yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah. So when are
So
Newcastle
that
playing?
well, they'll
In a
play
week, then?
Saturday or Sunday, I'd imagine.
Okay. So you've got
Um,
from basically from Thursday to
yeah,
Sunday
well,
League
to
Cup
Monday
action,
night there's
FA
Millwall
Cup
on as
action.
well. Millwall
What was that?
Dagenham's on. Millwall Dagenham's the only Monday night game. You got a Monday night game in the FA Cup. But look, I
Jeez.
honestly think, to be completely honest, replays. I'm not actually in favour of getting rid of them, but I think they benefit, and this is where again the big teams have had their say. whether you agree with it or not. I don't. Yeah, I support
Yeah,
one of them, but well, so do you technically.
yeah, I
I
agree.
don't agree with it. Replays, I think, yeah, they're probably better for the smaller clubs. So you could, the
That's why
bigger
I think
clubs
we
have
should
gone,
have
yeah,
them.
but we got so many games, we just get rid of it. But the big clubs don't care about the smaller clubs, do they? And the big clubs
No,
always
I
seem to have
agree.
the majority.
Yeah, no, I
I
totally,
don't think we should get rid of them.
I'm
I
on
don't
board with
think we
that.
should have done that for a second. But I'm just telling you, as in, how I see it, they've got the
Yeah, no,
majority, they've
you're
got the
absolutely
power.
right.
Forget the small clubs, they have to do what we want.
Well, as supporters of big clubs, you can see why they want rid of replays, but it completely defeats the FA Cup, and we shouldn't be the ones dominating the FA Cup,
We shouldn't
and
be in the League
and
Cup, though.
certainly not the League Cup. I was going
We
to say
shouldn't be in it because the name of it, if you
no
look at the name, it's the EFL Cup.
EFL Cup.
So why are we in the EFL Cup?
Yeah,
That should be,
they should be
bigger.
if they're going to do that. They should have a Premier League trophy.
Yeah,
I've always said that. You disagreed with me at the time, but I do think that if that's what the route they want to go
it
down,
wouldn't work.
it wouldn't work. But it's better than having the EFL Cup. It's
Well, we
better than
shouldn't
being
be in
in
that
it.
cup.
No, I agree.
And it's almost like a shot in the face for the other clubs because they all start it before, and then it's like, oh, then we'll seed the big boys in. So next is the big boys that didn't qualify for Europe, and then after that, the big boys are coming in. So it's like, yeah, you can have your little bit of fun, but we're going to boot you out eventually.
Yeah,
Again, it's
no,
money,
I
isn't it? And
agree.
it's the big clubs again. They have the majority. They can say this, and people say, "Well, how high do you want us to jump?" And that's how they end up everywhere. And they don't want this, and they don't want that. We don't want replays. Okay, we'll get rid of the replays. Well,
Yeah,
think how much the smaller clubs say. Tottenham are playing Tamworth this weekend, right?
yeah,
So if Tamworth earn a draw, that's a replay. But now it's
yeah.
not. It's not worth any extra money to them now.
Yeah, and so there's no point. It's ruined the whole premise of the FA
And
Cup.
someone on Talksport again. People need to analyse things, and so many people don't in the mainstream media, let's be honest.
No,
He was
they
having a
really
go at
don't.
Tamworth. I didn't watch the video, but I saw it. And the
The
title
price
gave me enough.
rises.
When you're not getting the replay, you're going to try to compensate for every bit of
Yeah, I
money that you
watched
could
that.
have got from the FA Cup.
I watched that. I thought at first it was ridiculous, and I thought into it, and I
It's
thought,
not
no, you can see why they're doing it.
because they have now had okay, we don't favour them to beat Tottenham, do we? No one
No, of
really
course not.
favours them. But,
Although with big Ange.
well, yeah. But on paper,
Yeah, on a serious note, no,
they've
no,
lost
they're
that
not going
money.
to.
They've lost any chance of earning extra, which they could, if they could get a one-all draw. That's a replay. That's another load of money. So you
Yeah,
now have to offset and think, right, we will charge a little bit more because it's a big club. People are going to
yeah,
want to come and watch it, so we'll charge more. We'll up the price on that ticket. Fair enough. Take what you get. The FA Cup is well, the cups are about small clubs. People want to see the
yeah,
small clubs do well or make a bit of money. This is their chance now. It's not every club drew a Premier League club. They've drawn
yeah.
a Premier League club. The fans are paying high enough for the Premier League tickets anyway. Why shouldn't they earn a little bit of money out of it?
I agree. For the record, I want Tamworth to win.
Oh, massively. Not even that though. You love in the FA Cup. You love an upset. You love an underdog going through.
Yeah, you do, you do. You, you know, I think Newport was it last season that were the
Yeah.
underdogs against United. Oh,
Yep.
I
Nearly
watched
went
that.
through.
United. Yeah, United barely survived that.
Coventry had them by the balls.
I remember that as well.
But this is the thing.
Didn't watch that whole thing, but I remember it.
You love these results. Maidstone, do you remember them when they beat
Oh yeah,
oh, Ipswich? Didn't they 2-1?
yeah, that's right.
That was mad.
Yeah,
That was a mad game.
I remember it
Um,
very well actually. I was in England.
yeah. I watched it, and then I was on my way to the cinema to watch a film that I was outvoted on watching, but thought, okay, I'll go for the sake of going. Um, and there was me sitting in an Uber, Mason. I was like, "Come on, Mason!"
What do
Poor
you
Uber
be trying to
driver,
say?
nothing. But you love it. You genuinely love like they're not even in the
Yeah,
National League. They're miles down, and they just was like, "Yeah, no, we're just playing Ipswich." It's just
yeah,
your everyday. Like they played it like it's just a normal match.
yeah. That's what the manager said. Something to that effect.
Yeah, I watched most of the. Well, I think I watched the whole of the first half, and then second half I watched the ending bit. I mean, the goalkeeper just started crying. It was a massive thing though because Ipswich were in, like on the chase for promotion, if you remember that. So
I do.
to win
Yeah.
it, to win it like that, and it's what the manager said. Like, we came into it like any other match. We didn't think it was Ipswich. We just thought it was another match that we had to play,
Hmm.
and it
And
works
it's a
sometimes.
psychology. It's the worst
Yeah,
thing, you know.
yeah. The worst thing you can say to your players is we've got a big game
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Any
We've
team
got a
can
game.
lose. Any team can lose. You can turn up on your day and you can lose. So
Look
you
at
what
us
you
with
do,
Kidderminster.
yeah. But every match is just a
That's still a
match.
sore one.
They deserved it, to be completely honest, that day.
Uh-uh.
They
Yeah, I
really
remember.
deserved it, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, that was a sore one for me though. I had a sore head that day.
At least you didn't have a sore stomach.
No. Anyway, I think there's not really much else to discuss. We've done our sort of annual, beginning of the year thrashing out of various problems. We've now solved every problem in football. Congratulations to us.
Yeah, obviously. Expert problem solvers at the ready every time, every day, anywhere, take oath.
Take over. So yeah, we will be back as normal next Monday. Well, there's no need for midweek this week, is there really? FA Cup. Are we going to do that?
Yeah, it could be interesting, couldn't it?
Yeah. Okay. We'll do
Um,
it. So we'll be back here on. Well, it's difficult to
Tuesday.
surmise that.
It was a
Yeah,
Monday night
Tuesday.
game
So
again.
yeah. So we'll
Um,
be back next Tuesday. No midweek because there's no midweek games we can cover until next Monday.
no, and we
Um,
will also jump in January once the FA Cup and things have cleared up. We will jump on the transfers.
we will indeed, and we'll do a transfer
Deadline day will be
special.
very interesting.
We will. We
Can't say
will.
too much yet.
No, we're going to discuss that
We're
off the air.
preparing things for you, though.
It's going to be a treat, I can tell you that.
Oh, it
We
is.
have a treat coming for you.
We do. You just have to be patient with us.
Yeah, and you
Would
have to
we
pay
ever let you
nothing.
down? Would we ever let you down?
Only on Thursdays. Yeah,
Well, no, actually, that was when we produced the David Coote episode. So,
that's true.
but we don't usually
Okay
produce
then.
on Thursdays, and I'm sure everyone is very let down by that. Actually, so yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Yeah.
can't do anything
Well,
midweek because there is well, there's the League Cups, but that would make for a very short episode, wouldn't it?
we will talk about that in the F. We'll call that the cup round.
Yeah. So we'll return
Well,
next week with everything cups.
we will indeed.
Until
Until
then,
then,
it's goodbye from this fat bastard.
and it's goodbye from this fat bastard.